Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's me, Robert Phoenix, and we are live. It is 7:30. It is Sunday night. It is Sunday night AstroLive. As you can tell, I am broadcasting from an undisclosed location. We're going a little bit later tonight than normal because I was putting the wraps on the Substack that I just did for Mr. Mamdani. And the link of the story, or for the story, the link of the post is in the description for tonight's show. So let me just bring it up here so you can see it. And it is right there. Now I'll probably have to go back in and oh, look at that. Look at that. Google Chrome is accessing your screen. Well, how about that, Google Chrome? Access away. Okay. So there you go. I'll just go through it a little bit here. Right, that's what you'll see. That's all the text right there, and that's what the chart. We're going to get into this tonight. We're going to get into the great Zohran, because what we witnessed was, in some ways, nothing short of pure magic. Magic like the good old days, the Prestige, right, where they reveal at the end not quite how they do things, but they reveal the result, which is a result of a lot of misdirection and a lot of glamour and illusion. So we're going to get into that tonight. We're going to look at his chart. We're going to look at the chart of the moment as well. It is 11/9, the inverse of 9/11, which is an interesting day to have a show on. Am I right? What time is it? 7:35. Let's do a little bit of that. We'll do 7:35 there, and we'll use Austin, Texas for our anchor location. That'll work. And we'll put that over here. And maybe what I'll do, so we can fuck around a little bit with Mamdani's chart, maybe what I'll do is I'll put it into astro.com, which can allow me to relocate his chart as well. So why don't I do that? Mamdani. Let's see. I just had it up here. All right. Do you feel safer now that Dick Cheney is no longer on this world? Question mark. Can you sleep a little better at night? What do you think Dick Cheney's introduction to the afterlife was? I'm curious. I'm very curious. What if Cheney had like completely become like a born-again Christian or something, and he'd gone through this very devastating sequences of like pains and trials before he passed away, and as a result of which he was gained entrance into heaven because he had repented. How would you feel about that if Dick Cheney got a pass, so to speak? Might be would you feel like it was a bit of a ripoff, like at the last moment? See, I don't think he could do that. I think he would have to have some kind of repentance before he could pass on, right? Like he'd have to somehow figure out how horrible Kathy O'Brien's daughter must have felt when she was being hunted down by him and G.H.W. Bush. You know what I mean? In a perfect world, I'd like to think so. Let's see. Do you remember the rumor that he had gotten Trayvon Martin's heart? Remember that? How right after Dick Cheney was looking for a heart, Trayvon Martin actually died, and there was this whole thing with Trayvon Martin and his father Tracy, who was a big time Freemason. And if you thought about it, it kind of made sense, because Trayvon Martin was a violent young man, and winding up in the body of Dick Cheney, well, kind of makes some interesting, if not weird, sense. But whether or not that's true or not, it's speculation, right? Speculation. Let me do this. I got one more thing to do. I'm going to relocate Mr. Mamdani for New York. So we'll take his relocated chart as well tonight, because the guy was born in Uganda. That's a very different place than New York City. He's a total internationalist. He's never worked a day in his life, really, unless you count some kind of, I don't know, public representative work. He was a rapper. He was into hip hop music, which I think is kind of funny, actually, if you think about it. All right, let me see what his relocated chart looks like. Yeah, interesting. We'll certainly bring that up as well. Okay, I think we're pretty much up to speed. We got the chart of the moment. We got some Zohran. I think we're ready to go. Let me check in with, we got 150 people here. Cool. All right, let's do this. Let's get a little bit of love for Silver Botanicals. And let's see what we got here. A little bit of love for Silver Botanicals, and then we'll jump into the stars. All right. So here we go. You have a couple days left for the Astro Bundle, and you get all these goodies here. The Silver Shield Sanitizer, that's that. The Silver Tongue Oral Care, great mouth rinse, that's there. You get the Silver Shield Bar of Soap, that's right there. The Botanical C Serum, that's right there. The Silver Shield Deodorant, Sensitive Skin Formula, that's right there. You get the Skin Guard Silver Gel, that's the C Serum right there. That is for the feet, and that is the Silver Gel for the hands. C Serum, Silver Gel for the hands, your Silver Guard Foot Shield, all of those products for a mere $75.16. And people have already come back and repurchased products and bought things for their friends. So that's when you know that you're onto something. When and we've only been working together for about maybe a little less than a month now, but there are already reorders coming back in, which is a great sign. And you can go there and get 10% off anything just by typing in astro-weather when you check out. So we're going to be doing a live remote from the Silver Botanicals World Headquarters in a couple of weeks on a Friday. And we'll have Ray and Dean on, and they'll talk about the product and the history of essential oils, which Ray has mapped out and done a really great job of, which you can find out a lot more on their website. Being the Sagittarius that he is, he's not just going to tell you about essential oils. He's going to tell you where they came from, how they got here, where they've been used, right? Big picture stuff. So you get the nano silver products with some of the finest essential oils that you can find literally in this realm. They're coming from the places they're supposed to come from, and they're organic in as many instances. If they could get organic in everything, they would. So that's the commitment to their products. Anyway, Silver Botanicals, check them out. They're going to be our sponsor for the first hour of our show. And then as we wind things down, we'll bring in a little True Hemp Science. Okay. Let's see. Did we do that? Did we view this? Did we view that? It's weird. It's like it's not sharing. We didn't see the product. I know this is a weird thing now with thanks for that. This is a weird thing with StreamYard I've been noticing that the screen shares aren't showing up. Let me try it again. There we go. Thanks. Yeah, I've been noticing that some of the screen shares aren't showing up. It's never my fault. Anyway, this is what you're looking at. That is the Astro Weather bundle right there. Right there. That's the Astro Weather bundle. And we'll be working with Ray and Dean, so we'll have other deals as we move forward. But this is a really good introductory one, which I highly recommend. All right, why don't we get into where we are now astrologically? We'll take a look at that, and then I'm gonna tease the Zohran stuff for after we're not going to go real long and heavy tonight, because I know for a lot of you on the East Coast, this is kind of late. For you West Coasters, it's only 5:45. I envy you. So here we go. Let me make sure I have the tab showing. There it is. Look at that. Bada bing. All right. Okay, here we go. Let's take a look at where we are astrologically. We got this big Moon Jupiter conjunction in Cancer. Who's not sitting around the fireplace right now drinking a hot toddy? I remember the first time I had a quote unquote hot toddy. Maybe it wasn't a hot toddy, but it was what do you call it? Where you have this, maybe it is a hot toddy. It's like nutmeg and cinnamon and whatever it is they put in that kind of gelatinous thing you buy in the store, right? And then you add hot water to it and you mix it up and then you add some hot brandy to it, like that stuff. I remember the first time I tried that, I was like, oh my God, this is so fucking good. I was young too, right? It was like my parents had it. I'm like, what do you do with this stuff? And I think I might have been, I don't know, 15, 16 years old. I'm like, let me try this. It might have even been at one of these events at my grandparents' place where everybody got blitzed and nobody knew what the hell was going on, right? And I remember trying them going, this is good. I like this. I think it's a hot toddy. Anyway, tonight's the night. You should be sitting around the fireplace, burning books and drinking hot toddies. Jupiter Moon conjunction. Tell them stories about the good old days. And do you remember when Aunt Clara went to church one day and she forgot to wear her bra? Stories like that. Or stories about your favorite crazy pet that did something really absurd. This is the night. We should all be sitting around together tonight. I wish we could all be in a room together with a big fire blazing and your favorite hot beverage of your choice. And I could just be sitting there talking about astrology. Wouldn't that be awesome? Last night we went out to this event out in way the fuck out there, Fitzhugh Road, way out there, and it was an event for a woman who had lost her house in a flood, the recent floods out here, and it was a benefit for this woman. And the thing that separated her out from somebody else who just lost her flood is that she has this Stevie Nicks tribute band called Gypsy. And I am not a big Stevie Nicks fan. I'm really not a very big Stevie Nicks fan. So I didn't really know what to expect. We're going to go out there. A friend of ours is promoting the event to support this person. So we're going to go, we're going to show up, we're going to support our friend who's going through a maelstrom of intensity with relationships. We can talk about that just in general. And so we go out there, and she's got this tight little 3-piece, bass, drums, guitar. They've got kind of a looping backing track that they play with. I could tell that punches things a little bit. But the guy's laying down the drum tracks. The guitar player is hitting the solos. They've got their little smoke machine and smoke pots. I mean, it was kind of cool. It was outside. And I actually liked her better than Stevie Nicks. It was like she had a bigger voice. The band had more of an edge. A little bit of a country growl to it. I liked it. I enjoyed it. And it was one of those nights where you wanted to have something like that come together. Now, the moon wasn't right on top of Jupiter like that, but it was about 10 degrees. And you're coming in here and starting to connect in with this grand trine energy with the sun. This is you have Neptune, Saturn, and this kind of philanthropic vibe that was going on. There were a lot of people out there. I mean, I was amazed at how difficult parking was. So there were some people representing, I guess the name of the group is Gypsy. And this woman was kind of tall, statuesque. She was great. She was totally great. And that's kind of been the vibe of the weekend in a lot of ways. So there's kind of we're seeing this philanthropic kind of energy follow through even tonight. Like, this is one of those nights where, be kind to one another. Be kind to yourself. Pamper yourself. I'm talking about real time. Whatever that means for you. Maybe, after an hour and a half, we'll do 90 minutes tonight. We'll do a strong 90 minutes. Pull yourself a really nice hot bath with some good bath salts, hang out, maybe have a hot toddy, whatever. Nice cup of tea. Tonight is the night. Tonight is the night. Get in there. Take care of yourself. Do a little self-pampering. That's what I would do. And get ready for the week. Because tomorrow, things come out guns blazing. Right? We're at the far end of Cancer, putting it into the Piscean. It'll cross over Jupiter. Right? By the time you're getting ready to go to work tomorrow, the moon will be out ahead of Jupiter. And there's going to be a lot of people with needs tomorrow. Just keep that in mind. The closer that moon moves to that square with Venus, we're talking crisis, okay? Crisis. And I'm not sure where we are with SNAP and the budget. I hear that, it's going to get taken care of. There's no viable chain of command when it comes to information now. There is none. Part of it is because Trump will say things that in the moment he'll mean them. But upon further review, I'll give you an example. he said that Americans were going to get $2,000 from the tariffs. Initially, it was going to be $5,000. I know you remember that because $5,000 gets your attention. $5,000 is like, yeah, I could use that $5,000. I could go out there and pay my property taxes for that damn $5,000. But now it's down to $2,000. And now Scott Bessent has said that you may not get them in dollars. Really, Scott? So what is the rebate, the $2,000 rebate going to be in? Is it going to be in shekels? Is it going to be in the Trump coin? So this is what I'm talking about. There's no real chain of command. There's no, it's like Trump needs to have this is in alignment, right? Because right now the moon and Jupiter are on his Saturn. So this is not independent of Donald Trump. This position right here, these two planets are on his Saturn. If I were Donald Trump, I would have a fireside fucking chat. And if I were him, I would do it tomorrow night. And informality is not something that we've ever seen with Trump. Like the only time he's informal is when he's wearing golf gear. That's it. That's it. Other than that, Trump is always in a suit and tie. To his credit, right? If you're going to be a world leader, you may want to ditch the tracksuit, which I completely agree with. But if Trump really wanted to give people a different look, have a fireside chat. Wear a sweater. Wear a sweater with a collar and talk about the problems that Americans are facing and how he's doing everything in his power to end the government shutdown. Like he needs to have that kind of moment. Because with all those planets in Cancer, that's when he's at his most effective. He's at his least effective in a lot of ways when he's like just shooting from the hip. Now, I mean, he's got that Jupiter Uranus trine. So he's got that. He can be very good at improvising. Nobody ever would accuse him of not being improvisational. But that's what he needs to do, especially now. This is where the energy's at, right? He needs to be able to assure people that their lives are going to function in a reasonable fashion with certain parts of the government working as they're supposed to do, like the FAA and flights. And apparently, we're getting more word that there's going to be less flights and less routes available. So we look at this stuff, and what it does is it just primes our cynical pump. Like, oh yeah, they're shutting everything down. They're going to shut down air travel. They're going to shut down all these other things, and then at what point does the entire corpus or the entire body just shut down? Because that's ultimately where it goes. And then when they reboot it, when they send it through the Frankenstein machine, what's it look like on the other side of it? Who are we, and what are going to be what's going to be the coin of the realm, and how are we going to trade and transact? And I mean, this is what has people stirring and are restless. Now, if you're a Christian, you don't really care because it's all good. Whatever happens, this earth is just a meaningless pit stop on your way to heaven with your Father. So these are just minor inconveniences that bring you closer to God. But for the rest of us, it does become a bit of a Groundhog Day in some ways, right? It's like it's the same day. There's different shit, but it's the same day. Anyway, what I'm telling you, or what I'm sharing with you, is take care of yourself tonight. and even into tomorrow, because with this Moon Venus square that we're going to start to experience later tomorrow night, and then on Tuesday with the Moon squaring Venus, that is when people are going to blow their tops. They're going to blow their tops. So we move the Moon down here into Leo, we get into that hard square with Venus. You have that opposition with Pluto. Oh my God, people press the entitlement button, right? And entitlements are really interesting. The word entitlement is interesting because entitlements are what people get when they're on the welfare system. They get entitlements. But then there's also this idea that entitlements lead to entitlement. And if they don't get those things, then there's going to be hell to pay. And I think the hell to pay period is coming. The hell to pay period is Monday and Tuesday. And that's when I believe this is what we talked about. Mars goes into Sagittarius. It's been there already. It's been there for 3 degrees. But the moon comes in and squares Venus and it opposes Pluto. And people they're not happy. They are not happy campers. And again, entitlement seems to be the theme of the day. Venus going into Scorpio feels desperate, doesn't it? Like we have the square to Pluto. We have the oncoming square with the moon. We have a wide square with Jupiter. We've had this Venus-Jupiter square for a while, which, for better or worse, has a lot of leniency to it. Let's put it that way. A lot of leniency to it. There's a lot of what sort of, I don't want to use the word bandwidth, but there's a lot of measure for error and enabling with a Venus Jupiter square. Like you understand that that's how a person is and they're not going to change. They're really not going to change. But you give them the space to change for whatever reason, because somewhere deep down inside, that theoretically they're more like the sum total of their parts is more than what they're showing. Right. And you remember that somehow. That's the Venus Jupiter square. That's one of the most counterfeit forms of emotion. But I get it. Because you understand, well, this person's amazing. They can do all these amazing things. But in the meantime, they can't pay their bills, or they can't pay their rent, or they don't have a driver's license, and they aren't really competent in the world. And yet they have all these other tremendous gifts and qualities, which keeps you hooked in, but you never really get to move further. I mean, you get that with Venus Jupiter squares in a lot of ways. There's a sense of a lot of latitude, right? But when the moon comes in and squares Venus, that latitude kind of goes away. There are hard and fast decisions that are made. So circle Monday night, Tuesday morning. I think we're going to get more word. This is not going to be fun. We're going to get more word around layoffs that are coming. They're going to close. I know a lot of people will be, oh, great. They're going to close 300 Wendy's chains. 300. That's a lot. That is a lot. And I'm sure that very few of you have stepped foot into a Wendy's in a very long time. But believe it or not, in some areas, that's all they have, right? Like in Johnson City, which is on the way to Fredericksburg, all they have is a Dairy Queen. That's it. They got a couple of Mexican restaurants. They got a few upscale restaurants, and they have a pretty good brewery pub. But that's it. If you just want to stop in somewhere, roll in, roll out, it's a one Dairy Queen town, right? So we're going to hear more. We're going to hear about more closures, more layoffs. That's all coming Monday and Tuesday. I guarantee you that right now. You're going to hear more about that. And it's amazing how quickly we've just jettisoned into Christmas. Like, it's incredibly cynical too. There's no downtime for Thanksgiving. Like, what the fuck happened to Thanksgiving? They need all this lead time now from Halloween to sell Christmas stuff. That's what's going on. It's like, yeah, we need a run up. Okay, Black Friday, let's make it the first Friday after Halloween or something like that. So get cozy while you can. Snuggle in, snuggle up while you can, because come Monday, Tuesday, that energy changes dramatically. It's a brave new world come Monday, Tuesday. That Moon Pluto opposition squaring off against Venus feels quite drastic in a lot of ways. We have that Venus Pluto square going on right now. It has been for the last couple of days. Like, how do you continue to be in relationships that have reached their impasse? Well, it's because Jupiter squaring Venus, and there's a lot of latitude involved. That's how it works. If Jupiter wasn't squaring Venus and Venus was just squaring Pluto, there'd be a lot of pink slips in relationships being handed out this last weekend. I guarantee you. Mars is now in Sag, has been for 3 degrees. But because it's by degree, it is still in trine with Neptune and Saturn, both of which are retrograde in Pisces, which we talked about last week. And it's a time where you need to get your shit together, because once Pisces goes direct, once Neptune and Saturn go direct in Pisces and then make their way into Aries, I'm not saying that the potential for spiritual redemption is over and done with, but it becomes a lot more difficult because we still have time for contemplation. We still have time for meditation. We still have time for reflection. Next year, that just goes out the window. Everything happens so quickly. And I think it's interesting. I was watching this interview with Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly, and Tucker Carlson is going through a religious and spiritual awakening in his life. And he was, Tucker's fascinating because you can tell something's going on with him. He's had Uranus around his sun. And so he's changing, right? He's just like changing dramatically with your Uranus on his sun. And he was talking with Megyn Kelly about how there was somebody he absolutely despised. And he wound up having this great feeling of compassion and empathy, almost like how Jesus or God would feel for somebody who we as humans could not muster the capacity to forgive or have compassion or empathy for. Like Tucker talks about, like, that's how he felt it. He felt it from the God's eye point of view, right? And it was so deep and so profound that it was something that he had never experienced before. But then he talks about how, I think it might have been later that night or the next day or something like that, where he literally got attacked by this entity in his sleep. And he had claw marks on the side of his chest, and he had blood stains on his bed. I mean, it's a pretty intense story. And the reason I'm bringing it up, not because Tucker is going through this Uranus Sun conjunction where he's being really changed. It's the Neptune Saturn conjunction retrograde, and how it's really a time where, not even with the retrograde part, but mostly retrograde, primarily retrograde, but also when they go direct, we're being tested spiritually. And how close can we approximate the qualities of God or a divine being, like say Jesus? Like how close can we bring those attributes into our lives? That's a difficult one because that really tests our human capacity and where we hide out from ourselves and where we hide out from the truth. Now, with the sun, with Mars and Mercury trining Neptune, trining Saturn, even though they're in different signs, different elements, and even in trine with Jupiter and the Moon, this quest or this affirmation of sorts should be one that is motivated by something higher, like a higher goal or a higher purpose or a higher meaning, not something that is punitive, right? Not like the hours leading up to Dick Cheney's demise, which I'm sure if Dick hadn't changed his ways by the time he took his last breath of this mortal coil, um, his reality was probably pretty hellish, actually. I mean, who am I to judge? But based on the life that the guy lived and what he did to the country and how he set us up to have regime changes, it's like every president has their season of regime change ever since Cheney and Rummy and Wolfowitz and the neocons got back in, and we've been living with it ever since. Dick Cheney's influence over us politically, demographically, I would say geopolitically more so, has cast a long shadow over our lives. And we've had to deal with his numbskull daughter who tried to derail the Trump train, but she couldn't do shit. Right. So long story short, with this kite pattern, with this grand trine, and even with the sun coming in and trining Jupiter and having this moon trine, like, and this is all primarily in water, although we have the fire wing over here, which is stoking this. I mean, it should be based on enthusiasm. It should be based on a passion for something higher in your lives. We could all attribute and aspire towards that. And when you know it, and you feel it. You feel as if you've been lifted up. You're in a different dimension. The quote unquote energies with you are beyond you, right? They're deeply transpersonal. And in some regards, they can be considered holy or sacred or divine. And that's, if we look around at our world, what would happen if the majority of the people felt that way? What if the majority of the people lived that way? There's no way that the rest of the world could get away with what they're doing. And not because of any sort of righteous indignation or injustice. It's because the overwhelming feeling of love would overpower them and disable them and would stop them in their tracks like an elephant gun. I mean, that's just the way it would be. They would realize that what they're doing is wrong. And they would fall to their knees and they would beg for repentance and forgiveness. I mean, that's how it would work. In a perfect world, that's how it works. And that we don't need 20,000 eyes in the sky to watch over us and to track our every step, record our every thought and every word. We don't need that because we have that internally. And we know that if we stray outside of that, then we're playing with fire. We're definitely playing with fire. So this starts off, I think, as a good week, right? Like when you leave your house tomorrow, your goal is to feel warm inside, whatever that warmth is, right? You want to shove off tomorrow with a sense that you're going to be okay, right? You're going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine and dandy because you've taken care of yourself. Whatever that is. A lot of times when I don't have a function. I mean, I have a bathtub, but I'm too big for it. But back in the days when I had like a big claw bathtub, I'd get in those things, and at nighttime I'd have these great baths, with bath salts and some borax, a little hydrogen peroxide, maybe some almond oil or something for the skin, like really really good deep sort of healing baths. And you go to bed and you feel different, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, man, I feel really good. I had this really great bath last night. I scrubbed my skin. And I used to know this guy in San Francisco. He would do it every night. Every single night, he had his routine. His routine was his nice hot water bath and a glass of warm milk before he'd go to bed. That was his thing. And I think he might have fired up a spliff too. That might have been part of it. But that was his thing. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, that's one of the things that cancer brings, right? It brings like routine, and it brings like familial celebration, things like that. So you could start something now under this Moon Jupiter conjunction and make it a part of your daily routine. It's all about self-care, self-nurturing, right? But when you nurture those parts of yourself, you're also nurturing the higher parts of yourself as well. It's not just you and your body, but it's you and your spirit. And it's the ninth house, right? It is the upper room that brings us this higher knowledge. And that's where Mars and Mercury and Juno and Vesta, they're all out right now. They're all in Sagittarius. So the propensity for higher knowledge and wisdom is much greater than at other times. And it can happen very, very, very quickly. Right. So don't think a miracle can't transpire in your life. It is not only possible, but with the right heart and the right intention and the right practice, it is inevitable. Okay. Why don't we do this? Let me go over to Substack and let's make a transition to the Zohran. And I'll show you guys. I'll just read this. I was on with Clyde Lewis on Friday night. I think Clyde's gone all paywall now. I don't know what's happened to his show, but when I hear in between breaks, I don't hear the same commercials that I used to, which I think were national commercials because Clyde was syndicated. I think he's just behind the paywall now. Anyway, I love Clyde. He's a great mind, and he's able to string things together that are profound. And he always reminds me of kind of a fire and brimstone preacher. So I was on with him on Friday night with the second hour of the show, I believe. So, and it had to do with all these strange occurrences. So I'm just going to go through and I'm gonna read my own Substack. How's that? Some things are very strange and defy logic, like all the strange sinks around the deaths of Kennedy and Ford. You know how Kennedy was shot in a Lincoln and Lincoln was killed in the Ford Theater? Well, something similar happened with the election of Zohran Mamdani, or just Zohran, as his handlers are doing their very best to brand him. I was on with Clyde Lewis in Ground Zero on Friday night. Clyde brought up the strange things between Mamdani, Dick Cheney, 9/11, the WTC, and Trump. This is a nearly word-for-word reprint of Clyde's intro for Friday night. I'm on in hour number 2. A number of major events this week have been connected by the cosmic trickster or some other anomaly that leaves us with many questions and certainly a bit of allure as we see the performance happen in real time. Just file away that word performance, because that's what we're watching. We're watching prestidigitation. We're watching magic happen, and magic happening on multiple levels. Many people are now aware that Dick Cheney, the architect of 9/11, died on November 3rd. Then we have the first Muslim elected mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani. Then all around the internet, we are seeing the horrifying videos of the plane that crashed. It was a UPS carrier that went down in Louisville, Kentucky. The flight was 2976. The coincidence here is that New York, Cheney, architect of 9/11, and plane crash. According to the FBI website, on September 11th, not counting the hijackers, it is believed that 2,976 people perished that day. The UPS plane crashed just after taking off from Muhammad Ali International Airport. This, of course, brings in the name Muhammad, one of the masterminds of the 9/11 attacks. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed was the Pakistani national that, by some reports, was the mastermind behind the 9/11 attacks on New York and the Pentagon, by some reports. So far, we have the coincidental stringing of the words in the headlines: New York, Dick Cheney, Muslim, 9/11, plane crash, Mohammed, in 2976. See the pattern? After the UPS plane disaster, the Louisville, Kentucky mayor said there were 9 fatalities and 11 others injured. The plane allegedly was decommissioned from the passenger service on October 24th, 2014. Count the time from the decommissioning to the time in which it crashed: 11 years and 9 days. The UPS plane was only able to reach an altitude of 175 feet before it crashed. Again, given what we know about what was reported, this is me editorializing, 175 is the number of the second plane that hit the South Tower during the 9/11 attacks. Now, as we go back to the other major surprise of Mamdani, a socialist being elected mayor of New York, he was born on October 18th, 1991. From that time until President Trump was inaugurated this year, it has been 33 years, 3 months, and 3 days. The Twin Towers of the World Trade Center stood in New York, the New York skyline, 33 years before they were brought down by terrorists. And now, after all this time, New York has a Muslim mayor, Clyde Lewis. All right. So this is what I followed up with. And some of this is actually on the show, as I've described some of it. The moving timeline. When strange things like that occur, it feels as if the timeline is moving beneath our very feet. Go back in time, say 2 weeks after 9/11 happened in New York City, and ask the people of New York if they'd ever vote for a Muslim mayor. What do you think the reaction would be? What if you told them in 2025 a socialist Muslim mayor would be elected to their fair city? Place a far futures bet on that in your biff with the almanac. The galactic center versus the gods of mischief and disorder. One of the running themes of my work is the magical duality of Gemini, aka messenger and trickster of the gods, incarnate as Hermes and other puckish shapeshifters, with a flexible moral code and a lightning quick speed that rearranges our affairs under our very noses, often with implied, if not informed, consent. What I mean by that is that they'll tell you what's going to happen before it's going to happen. And then it happens, right? That is called predictive programming. And they do that so that you have implied consent. You've seen it happen before it's happened. They're telling you. The galactic center operates at roughly 2526 Sag. It is the torsion point of the entire galactic system, held together by a black hole, simultaneously sucking it all inward, while an array of cosmic particles are ejected at a more than equal rate, thus canceling out the entire collapse of the galaxy itself, but also managing to fire off neutrinos. Carlos Santana would call them beams of light from the mind of God. All the way across the galaxy lies the opposite sign of the Archer, Gemini, the aforementioned trickster god, where we get stories of brothers and half-brothers, sometimes even twins, that play roles in the creation myths. Thor, god of order, has his half-brother Loki, god of disorder, Enlil had Enki, Abel had Cain, Romulus had Remus, and Larry Silverstein had Bernard Mednick, his former brother-in-law, whom he had gotten into a bidding war for the entire WTC complex. Just weeks before Silverstein closed the deal, Mednick pulled out. And it wasn't much longer after that that Mednick died of a heart attack, and Larry cashed out on the massive insurance policy for the WTC. While not technically brothers, they were brothers-in-law and business partners. Did I fail to mention that Silverstein is a Gemini? And in fact, all the major players in NYC are Geminis. Trump is a Gemini, and so is Rudy Giuliani, who was mayor. George W. Bush was president, and some can trace this all the way back to Dallas and JFK, where another George Bush reportedly ran the CIA office. The first George Bush would start a war in Iraq, and 2 years after 9/11, his son, the other George, would follow suit. On 11/22/63, JFK would be taken out in Dallas, where the two L's in the middle of its name represent the Twin Towers. G.H.W. Bush was a Gemini. JFK was a Gemini. 5 years later, JFK's brother would also be shot in Los Angeles. Both LA and Dallas are on the 33rd parallel. So you have the two brothers again, right? Then you have the two Georges. So this whole Gemini thing is significant. The death of JFK is a major timeline moment. In fact, Clyde is doing some kind of a presentation on exactly that. Like I've been staring this JFK thing down for years, and whether or not you think he was killed or just eliminated, right? It's a big deal. Our world changes, the timeline changes. So we talked a lot about that on Friday night. The death of JFK is a major timeline moment, a fork in the temporal road, and all signs lead to Gemini as the cosmic trickster, constantly disturbing the implicate order being held down across the universe. Understanding magic from another dimension. Now, this is something that I'm just starting to wrap my head around, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to understand the high strange, the synchronicities, and the chaos from a third dimensional point of view. And so we are quite familiar with third dimensional magic, sleight of hand, illusions. But how familiar are we with magic that operates on an extra dimensional level? That is the, to me, that's the skeleton key. Let me just read this. And by the way, I don't have an answer to it, but it feels to me like the ability to step out of time and to kind of rearrange events on the reality board. That's what it feels like. Let me read this. It seems almost impossible for third, fourth dimensional brains to wrap our heads around the layers of sinks, which in our world would be nearly impossible to arrange, and yet we decode the high strange with almost a sense of awe. That's how magic is supposed to work. Let's be honest, we know very little about how things are manipulated outside of our version of space-time. And yet it seems as though this is where our so-called reality is being shifted and rerouted from. It's not this dimension. It's not this world. It's from another dimension, another space. And that's not to say that there aren't worldly agents at work. So I'm looking at what we can see, the amazing, and this is the trick, one of the tricks with how they got Zohran elected, the amazing Zohran. I'll be honest with you, I didn't pay much attention to Zohran Mamdani as he launched his deep outsider run for mayor. Politics is becoming boring. Mamdani was just another exotic dish for the outsiders' palates, about as far of an outsider as you can get for mayor. If anything, I was more puzzled by the disappearance of Eric Adams than the emergence of Zohran. Adams was king rat. He'd just been initiated to the 33rd degree of Freemasonry 2 years ago in a very public announcement display. So he had become a 33rd degree Mason along with some of his cronies at the Gracie Manor. It was very public. I believe it was Prince Hall Freemasonry. So either Adams was going through a public humiliation ritual or his Freemasonry was not enough to get him through the last year and a half of his mayoralship. He just disappears. Charges of corruption were always haunting Adams, along with the murder of a local political activist whose corpse was jangling in Adams's past. This was somebody who'd been doggedly reporting on Adams in one of these like community newspapers with these real estate deals that Adams was involved in. And they were all very corrupt. And mysteriously, this guy dies, right? While Adams continues to rise through the ranks. He was a police chief for a while. And then he gets promoted and moves into being alderman, whatever, right? Charges of corruption were always hung. Okay, we did that. I had never seen anyone exit stage left as quickly as he did. By doing so, it left the door wide open for Mamdani. So Mamdani is a Libra, and we're going to return to this chart in a minute. That is his chart. Mamdani was born in 10/18/91 in Kampala, Uganda. He's a dual citizen, by the way. At 1:15 a.m., his rising sign is 0 Leo, and this makes him a formidable figure from the jump. It's rare to see him photographed with a scowl or a smirk. Mamdani is all smiles. With his sun in Libra conjunct Spica, he is the great charmer of the zodiac. Jamie Darkstar, aka the Astrology King, has this to say about the Sun Libra conjunction in Spica. The native is a clever, ingenious person, and has the ability to gain from new ideas, inventions. However, these natives, if they are the recipients of good fortune at too early an age, whether dissipate or let it go through ignorance or the lack of experience, they would be attained by age and education. Mamdani has not done this. Association with religious groups, organizations, legal matters pertain dealing with public affairs will prove to be profitable. The more negative nativities will seek constant change, being of an unsettled state of mind. Seek help from various sources. In any case, these natives can be subject to name and fame, good or bad, forever. So here is Mamdani, and he is hanging out with the hardcore Jewish community, right? And he is more than happy to put on the kippah. Give him the kippah. Take one for the kippah. And there he is with Alex Soros. This, boys and girls, is a Masonic handshake. So this guy probably belongs to B'nai B'rith, and I would not be surprised if Mamdani is not also a Freemason as well. What is he doing here? Is he just showing up and eating some cake and having some Manischewitz? No, he's doing deals. He is doing deals. He's basically telling them, hey, look, don't worry. This socialist stuff is not going to hit you guys. You don't have to worry about it. I got your back. So you can run I'm not going to infringe upon your diamond business, your diamond trade. None of it. You guys, business as usual. I got your back. Inshallah, you're my people. Right? That's what he's doing. He's a Libra. He is making deals. So these are the magicians, right? These are the magicians, the people that he's dealing with. These are the Babylon workers, and I think these guys, whether it's through their version of the Kabbalah, which is different than the off the shelf consumer version, they leave one station out, or whether it's the actual Zohar itself, or some other version of like the Tetragrammatron or something. They've got something, right? They have something that they connect with that is outside time space. That's what I think. And maybe it's just the insider's version of the Kabbalah or the insider's version of the Zohar, but they've got something. They're working some kind of metaphysical angle. So when we talk about magicians of the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension, this is what I'm talking about. These are the technicians of an otherworldly order. And we see it's sort of like how there's the front of the house and the back of the house. We see the front of the house. We never see the back of the house. So we often wonder, how does the back of the house work? How does our implicate order get changed and rearranged with these strange kinds of synchronistic moments or these decoded tie-ins, right? Some of it is worldly. Some of it can be manipulated in this world. And I think some of the other components of it are manipulated outside of what we would call time space. This is merely a speculation upon my part. But that's, you would have like worldly magic where you would have, let's say, a card that was slightly bent or something. Like you would manipulate something in physical space that if somebody was paying attention, they could figure out. That's third dimensional magic. Sleight of hand, trickery. But if you operate outside of that, that's a whole different realm of magic with an ICK. It's the association with religious groups that Mamdani has parlayed into political power. His three closest political advisors and strategists were all young millennial Jews. They all were. They not only set him up with the requisite podcasts and social media tools that are available to everyone, they made him accessible to everyone. So if you wanted to interview Mamdani and you had some shitty little cable TV show or podcast in New York, he would do it. He would talk to you, right? He was going to be sort of the everyman, theoretically. Mamdani is also no shrinking violet. He told everyone from the jump that he was going to take on Trump. But the questions still exist. How can a pro-Palestinian Muslim socialist convince the majority of New York's Jewish community, not just the liberal left version, but a majority to vote for him? It's magic. So when you go back and you look at like his name, like if you go back, they were using this Zohran. He was Zohran. Like the thumbnail for tonight's show has the Zohran. Like they were really big into creating him as this magician, right? And if you go back into the 20s and 30s, you had people like Houdini, and then there's this guy Thurston, and they all have one name. Excuse me. And it's funny because Thurston always has these little devils that are kind of part of his poster art, and he seems to be able to command them. And when you look at this poster, right? It's almost always in pairs and twos, like Gemini. Like you have these two guys down here in the white coat. I think this might be a version of Thurston and his assistant. And then you always have the two little demons, right? And then you have Thurston up here, and then you have Thurston down here. So that's the assistant. So it's always in twos, except over here where you get the third, right? But it's as if Thurston can manipulate the world and what's going on behind the world. But it's these twos, it's these pairs, with the exception of the Trinity here, that show up. So it's magic and some backroom deals. One of the things you'll notice about Mamdani is that his campaign wasn't about his last name. It was about his first name. Zohran. It sounds like Zoltan, or one of the famed magicians of the 1920s and 30s. They didn't use Vote Mamdani. They went full on one name like Pele, Cher, Madonna, Tiger. They wanted to promote his aura as a magician, a wizard, a man of mystery who appears out of nowhere to capture one of the most powerful positions in the world. And instead of promising to make the Statue of Liberty disappear, he's going to remove debt and price inequality with the wave of his wand. That is the promise of Zohran, not as a man of the people per se, but one who hovers slightly above them and managed to defeat political gravity before our very eyes. You see, this is the tableau that they're setting up for him. This wasn't an election, but more like the reveal at the end of the magical act, the prestige. And while he does indeed possess some magical elements in his chart, which we'll get into, sometimes magic is staged. Adams figuratively drops out. Cuomo, the senior killer, is drafted as the best hope to derail Mamdani. Curtis Sliwa finally apologized to the Jews. It didn't help. And in fact, it was a good week for the team in black as they offered up some mea culpas as well. But it was Zohran the Great who worked with magicians behind the scenes to get deals done and votes delivered. And once you have the Babylon workers on your side, operating magic from an extra dimensional level takes on a bit of a different meaning. So I'll be going on over Mamdani's chart on the show tonight, which I'm about to do right now. So what I did is I put his chart into Astro, which I tend to like. So we're gonna throw that up there. Okay, but before I do want to have a quick shout out to our good friends over at True Hemp Science. Right. So True Hemp Science, all you got to do is go on over there, spend $100 or more, and type in 15MINS, and you will get the goodie bag. Look at those beautiful gummies. Moonlight, Starlight, Astronautica, Twilight. If you are going to be traveling, you need to stop by True Hemp Science and pick up an order and type in 15MINS. Look at that, first-time customer. You receive 20% off your purchase too. Look at that. That's pretty damn good too. Maybe you can type 15MINS in there as you head on out, and you'll still get the goodie bag. That's a great deal. Right there, truehempscience.com. All right. Let's get back here. So this is Mamdani's chart. And when I saw his chart, I'm like, this dude's got some juice. He has some juice. He's a Leo rising, 0 degrees. And he has Chiron in Leo in his first house. You know what's interesting about that Chiron? That's around the age where he leaves Uganda and goes to South Africa. That's an interesting time for him. I read his bio, right? He's got Chiron at 8 degrees. It's a big moment for him. Now, it doesn't always have to be a painful moment, but it could be. Maybe he had to go to a different school, say goodbye to his buddies. Maybe he had a pet elephant or something. I don't know. And then he had to leave. But that 8 degrees is also timed before he moves to South Africa. And he's in South Africa, I think, until like what, junior high. And then he moves to the United States and goes to school in the United States. His mother's a filmmaker, his father's a professor. He's part Indian and part Muslim. His father's a Muslim. His mother's Indian. So it's that perfect marriage of the violent divorce between the Muslims and the Indians. And I don't think they would have been able to consummate their marriage in India. They probably had to do it in a place like Uganda so that they could live outside being judged. You just didn't do that in India. So in a weird way, Mamdani has already been a byproduct of a magical trick, which is being the offspring of an Indian and a Muslim, and a Pakistani Muslim at that, right? So Leo rising, he's going to carry himself with a regal bearing. It's just the way it is. And he's like a little prince. He's never worked a day in his life. I've gone through his bio. He's done political work, whatever that is. And I'm sure it takes some effort, but, he fancied himself as a hip hop artist for a while. Seriously. I think he was on a label. They put out some singles, and who knows what he was rapping about. But now he's got a suit and a tie on and looking very respectable. Am I right? And when you look at his chart, it's very third house centric. And again, what does that take us into? It takes us into Gemini, like this realm of Gemini. So he has the sun right here. There's Spica. So he's got sun conjunct Spica. And we'll get back to his second house in a second. But I wanted to talk about his third house. This guy is a shapeshifter. And Mars in the third house is he's always moving. Like one of the things that one of his campaign staffers suggested he do, and it was a really big hit, he walked across New York. Like that's like the thing now for these young dudes, like James Tallarico, who just got in big trouble here in Texas because of some of his online follows. Always made a big deal about walking his precinct, right? And in Texas, that's no easy feat because it's really, really hot. So that's what Mamdani did. And it's a very Mars in the third house kind of operation. Now he's got Mars, he's got Mercury, he's got Pallas. They are all conjunct and they are all in the sign of Scorpio. Mamdani has charisma. No matter what you think of the guy, what you think of his policies, what you think of his politics, he has charisma. Mars, Mercury in Scorpio, and he has Pallas in Scorpio, so he knows where things are going. He's very psychic, and he has, because he's got the Mercury, Mars at well, I guess it's really just his sun, isn't it? It's his sun trine the moon in Aquarius. And he's got that moon in Aquarius. So he's very cool, right? Like he's super cool. He doesn't get ruffled easily. This guy doesn't get ruffled easily. It would take a lot to get him off of his game. I'm telling you right now. And he can be a very powerful orator. He can be very swaying. Very, very swaying. And he does come off as a man of the people. Why? Because he has Jupiter and Venus conjunct in Virgo in his 12th, in his second house. Now, I'm going to say something that may upset some of you. He actually believes what he's talking about. Now, he may have a difficult time keeping up his promises. That can be problematic. But he believes it. He believes in the working man stuff. He believes in fairness, right? He believes in the little guy. He's got that Jupiter-Venus conjunction in Virgo in his second house. And it all comes in here, right? And it's in sextile with Mars, Mercury, and Pallas, and that means his message is consistent. He's not going to go way off script. This is not what this guy is about at all. He does not go off script. He is going to be a steady Eddie, as they say, right? And in fact, he's got a Mercury Saturn square. And when you have a Mercury Saturn square, you have to follow through on what you say, right? Because if you don't follow, and this is anything. So if he's making deals, and by the way, he has Pluto like right on his Saturn right now. Like if we were to put transiting Pluto, it'd be right there. And that's power. So he can't go back. Like that's what killed the Kennedys. They fucked over the people they did deals with. He can't do that. Not with the Mercury Saturn square, and not with Pluto in trine with squaring his Mercury right now. If he goes back in those deals, not only will his political career be over, but there's a really good chance his life will be over as well. And this is something to pay attention to with Pluto, because Pluto is squaring his natal Mars. And this guy's not out of the woods. I mean, would it be possible for somebody to actually assassinate him? With this chart, possibly, yeah. I could kind of see that. And I'm sure he's got plenty of protection. But he's not out of the woods with this Pluto. He's got Pluto squaring Mercury, Pluto squaring Pallas. A lot of these promises that or deals that he's cut, they're going to come at a price, and we're going to see just what he's made of, right? Because Pluto's going to come in and it's going to start to inconjunct Pluto and Venus starting next year in his chart. So in 2026, 2027, the bill comes due. And we're going to see how well he can settle up that bill. And again, I think his working class stuff is real. He's got Uranus, he's got the True Node, he's got Neptune. They're all in the 6th house. That's Virgo's house. This guy wants to be a man of the people. I'm telling you. When he says what he says, he actually means it. So he has a level of sincerity that also helped him get across the finish line. The biggest squares, what is it? He's a Neptune square with what? He's got a Neptune square with the Sun Neptune square. It's wide, 10 degrees. I don't know, but he's got quintiles with Neptune and Mars, right? He's got a quintile there, and Mercury. I'm telling you, man, there's something about this dude. He's not your ordinary candidate, right? Pluto and Scorpio, and he's got that Moon Pluto square. Yeah, he does fall into the millennial camp of burn it all down. He does. I'm not going to lie. Right? But it depends on what he's going to burn down. I would say that on the one hand, he's going to follow through on a lot of what he's talking about. On the other hand, those people that he met with, they're not going to be the recipients of some of the same restraints and socioeconomic rules and regulations that may be put in place for others. I'm just saying, right? And that's what he has to figure out. He has to figure out that he can't go back on those deals. Because if he does, he's in jeopardy. But this guy's got a ton of quintile, or look, he's got a quintile with Pluto, and down here he's got a quintile with Pluto and Venus. He's got a Jupiter. This guy's got a ton of quintiles. And he's got a biquintile with Saturn and Jupiter. Those are like gifts from, they're very mysterious, quintiles and biquintiles. They're at 144 degrees or at 72 degrees. And they're considered to be like gifts from God. It's almost like they're these special dispensations that the individual has. Think of them as being like angels in some ways, for lack of a better term. They're unique gifts that are, what's the word I'm looking for? Intangibles. They don't always get charted out like trines or sextiles. They're built in. It's like they're built into the mainframe of the individual. So this guy's got some interesting juice. Now, one of the things, if you go into the Astro theme version of his chart, let me see if I still have it up here. Hold on. Yeah, I'll share this. If you go into the Astro theme version, like they have all these people that are connected to these various aspects. Look at his moon. His moon in 18 Aquarius is the same degree as Antichrist. I thought that was quite interesting, right? Like, because Antichrist has his own chart. That's the Antichrist chart right there from 1962, right? So his moon is at the same degree. Supposedly, that's the chart of the old Antichrist himself. But Mamdani's moon is at the same degree as that moon, right? Now he's born in the same day as some interesting people. Taking us back to Kennedy, he's born in the same day as Lee Harvey Oswald. Isn't that interesting? That takes us all the way back to the beginning of where we started and the whole high strange between the syncs and the numbers. Fascinating. Really, really fascinating. He's also born the same day as Klaus Kinski, who's an absolute nut job. So I think this is a pretty formidable chart. This guy is not going to go away anytime soon. And as long as he honors his deals, he'll be the damn mayor of New York City and may even wind up being more. Now, this is his relocated chart, which I think is interesting because now we place his true node right in the 10th house. Boom. Right there. Oh, that's today. That's now. Hold on. It's not a hold on. Hold your horses. He's got 10th house stuff. It's just different. Hold on. Right here. Okay, so the relocated chart is vitally important. Oh, come on, relocated chart. Here we go. Because this is going to give us a picture of Mamdani in New York. So here we go, Capricorn midheaven. He's got Neptune right on the MC. So I've often felt like Neptune on the MC is the aspect of the guru or the teacher. So Mamdani is not just like this 1920s, 30s magician, but he's got this sort of vibe, aura as a spiritualist, a mentalist, a guru, somebody who's magical, right? And Neptune on the midheaven gives him a divine sense of purpose. This guy's not going away anytime soon. And the New York press is going to trip over their dicks writing about this guy. And he is so slick that everything he does, like his press conferences, his photo ops, they're all going to be highly staged, stage crafted, manufactured, right? Like they're gonna they're gonna manage this guy, and they're gonna create even more of an aura around him. So he's not going away anytime soon. And you can even see over here in the seventh house, which is where he's working out all those deals, right? He's working out all those deals with the Babylon workers. And whether it's the deal that's the off planet deal or the online deal, right? Or the, hey, you know, there's going to be no diamond tax in your diamond trade coming in from Antwerp. We got you covered on that. Just about everything else. Don't worry about it. Business as usual. L'chaim. That's all seventh house. Consummate deal maker. And he's Aries rising. So that means that he's going to show up as a fighter, a scrapper, a battler. You know, moon is Aquarius moon is in the 11th house. And that's kind of global village stuff. Do not underestimate this man. There, you'll see all these memes, and they're going to poke fun at him, and they're going to poke fun at New York having a socialist Muslim mayor. You may be able to laugh initially, but do not. This guy is not to be underestimated. He has the power to create an entire wave. You see, the millennials are just starting to come into power now. The oldest millennials are born in right around 85, 86. So they're just hitting 40. They're just coming into power. You know, when you hit your 40s, you're moving into your Mars cycle. It's the most productive decade of your life. So you're going to have all the millennials now moving into their Mars cycle. And you're going to see him as somebody who will create a blueprint for others like him to follow. And again, a lot of this has happened because, number one, the aforementioned opponents of him were very weak. None of them had a real chance, except for maybe Adams, but nobody had seen Eric Adams in like 6 months. And then you had the poor performance of Trump and the Trump administration. And, you know, they thought, oh, well, you know, we have enough, you know, really rich Zionist, hardcore, ultra conservative, right Jews who live in New York. A lot of them have already left. A lot of them have left New York for Florida or other places, mostly Florida. So a lot of the powerful Jewish families are taking their money and have been taking their money out of New York. So New York isn't the same kind of old school Jewish enclave of money that it used to be. After 9/11 happened, you know, a lot of those people went south and went to other states as well, but primarily Florida because there's no state income tax in Florida, and they can enclave together. So who remained in New York were more of the liberal Jewish variety, who would be much more in favor of Mamdani and his views on Palestine and Gaza. And he still yet was able to get the other side who weren't anti-BDS, who were anti-BDS. He still managed to get them to vote for him as well. Do not underestimate this man. And the thing that he'll do is that he'll have a blueprint now. And that blueprint is going to be used by any number of other candidates. And if for whatever reason, New York has a success story, or at least that's how the press portrays New York, it's going to be harder and harder to dissuade other candidates from moving in this direction. So what we're going to see now is we're going to see the rise of the millennials in positions of power. Like being on the street and being a social activist or an ally or something along those lines isn't a position of power. Mamdani's in a position of power, and he'll be one of the um, template builders for millennials who want to burn part of the system down. Does he want to burn it all down? Probably not. If he did, he wouldn't have been making those backroom deals. But he's smart. He's a Libra, right? And he's going to be that point of balance, that connector with his son. This guy's got a lot of charisma. It's not, New York, good luck, right? But it'll be very interesting to see how CBS deals with him. Because as you know, CBS has been purchased by Larry Ellison and is being run by his son, and Barry Weiss is in charge of the news department at CBS. And they're very powerful in New York City. I believe that's where their headquarters are. So it'll be interesting to see how CBS portrays Mamdani. That'll be a litmus test to see how CBS portrays Mamdani. If they are middle ground soft on it, um, there may be more deals that meet the eye, but they could also be very, very hard on him and play the role of like the one network that is always going to be questioning his motives, questioning his decisions, questioning his budget. Like they could play that role, while all the other news sources might be on. Clearly, I think CNN and MSNBC will be on board. This is a major blow to Trump and what we would call the conservative right. This is a major blow. This and the election of Virginia is sort of a referendum on where we are now with America First. That's another part of it that's created this ability for him to take control, really, of the situation. His true node is in the ninth house, conjunct Neptune. So he's all about the big idea, the big dream, right? And they're gonna continue. Just watch the programming, watch the propaganda. They're going to continue to cast him in a kind of a spiritual, magical light. That's how they're going to cast him. And he's going to play the role. He's going to play the role. And you're going to see stories about how he united New York's various faiths, from imams to rebbes to ministers, how Zohran Mamdani became the face of spiritual and religious unification for New York. I guarantee you're going to see these articles. The whole interfaith thing is going to become really big. He'll find sort of the liberal side, liberal faces of all those faiths, and even the non-liberal ones, because he's made deals with them. They'll play. They'll play the game. Sure, why not? So this is really, in a lot of ways, a much more representative chart for Mamdani. And even with Juno and Saturn kind of up there in the 10th house, like the new idea, the new artifact, and Pluto is right on his native Saturn. It's huge. Huge. So he's the first, he won't be the last. There'll be different versions of Mamdani, right? And I'm not even sure if is this going to be the new face of the Democratic Party? Is that what they're going to call themselves? Maybe. It'll definitely be like old line Democrats will not be as comfortable with him as you think. They would have been much more comfortable with somebody like Cuomo because they know where his skeletons are buried. I'm not sure Mamdani's got any skeletons. I'd be very surprised if he does. So this is a guy who I don't think is going to be all that easy to be manipulated based on the vagaries of his past. I mean, that's how elected officials get elected. They're compromisable. And he may have something compromisable, but he's pretty young, right? He's what, 34 years old? He just turned 34. Like, how much bad shit can you do in your life by the time you're 34? Seriously. As long as he stays off OnlyFans and stays away from uh, porn star sites like James Tallarico is not doing, he'll be just fine. He'll weather any kind of controversy. If anything controversial comes out, it'll have to do with that Moon Pluto square and some of these backroom deals. But that wouldn't come out for a while. That wouldn't come out until Pluto conjuncted his moon, and what we're like 8 years out from that. Like that's the first real crisis to Mamdani's like legacy is about 8 years from now, and a lot of water will go under that bridge. If anything, I would say this guy has to be looking over his shoulder at people that don't want him in office. That's what I would pay attention to. This Pluto Mars square. That's what I would definitely pay attention to. So there you go. Zohran the Magnificent. Zohran the Amazing. That's what they've done. That's how they've branded him. And now with the chart, and you see the relocated chart, oh my God, Neptune on his midheaven, he's going to be a Svengali. This guy is going to, like, he's just starting to cook. Like, if you look at his natal chart, Saturn's still rising, right? It's going to go through his eighth house. It's still rising. It's almost through his eighth house, isn't it? Yeah. Let me see if I can find it again. Hold on. Yeah, so he's getting ready to have Saturn. Like here, so I'll show you. This is a major moment for him. And again, I'm not a fanboy or anything. I'm just looking at the astrology. I mean, isn't that what we're here to do? Is just look at the astrology? I mean, that's what I did with Trump. So if you go back to his natal chart, we put Saturn in here. Saturn's right there. It's getting ready to hit his vertex. Next year goes and hits his part of fortune. Ninth house. This dude is rising. I'm telling you right now, in the natal chart, 3 years, governor of New York. Kathy Hoppel better watch it. Governor of New York. Now, I don't know how he's going to pull off being a president if he tries to go that route. He does have naturalized citizenship, but neither of his parents are born here. He's born in Uganda. I'm not sure if he can do it unless they change the laws. And who knows? With this guy's pull, you never know. But he's a rising star for sure. And he's got Saturn and Neptune just coming out of his eighth house now. So Zohran, it's a name to remember. It's an easy one. It's 9/11. Why don't we bring it in? Why don't we end it here? No, it's 9/12. I used to love that when I was coaching baseball. I say, bring it in. That was fun. Bring it in. We talk about practice. We talk about who we're playing. I miss the old coaching days. Those were great. That's it for tonight. Thanks for being here. We covered a lot of ground, and we did it in a relatively short period of time. A streamlined version of the show. So for all you people on the East Coast, you get to take that nice hot bath, have that hot toddy, maybe a warm brownie, with a little vanilla ice cream. Treat yourself. Why not? You got Monday morning tomorrow to wake up to. Wake up feeling refreshed. Take care of yourself. Get a good night's sleep. We'll be back here on Tuesday with the Astro Weather. Follow me. Subscribe. And if you want, you can buy me a cup of coffee or get a reading from me. I do those as well. In the meantime, use your head in order to discern what's real, your heart to send what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. Bless you all. Good night and bye for now.